It's a great pleasure to sit here with Paul today. In the blurb about him, it says that he's one of the wise men. He's also one of the good men. And whenever you talk to people about Paul, they'll always have very fond things to say. He's been around for a while. And you know, when you've worked on some of the formats that he has done, like Wheel of Fortune, which are such classics, and then you note formats like Carpool, Karaoke, which is about as modern as you can get, you can see that breadth and scale of work. So would you join me in welcoming Paul to the stage? Paul, I just wonder, with all of the sort of experience that you have in the formats business, what is the most frustrating part of the job these days?
Good question. First of all, I love my job. And because I love my job, I think the most difficult part of it and dealing with the LA freeways is getting from my house to my office every day. It takes on a good day, about an hour and a half. So if that's the worst part of my day, it's not bad.
I think if that's the frustrating bit, you can
it's okay.
sleep
It's
lightly.
okay.
But what frustrates you most about the formats business? You must have seen it change over the years. What compels you to get a little bit annoyed with the way things are?
It's trying to get buyers to buy an unproven format. I'll give you an example. I came to CBS about 10 years ago, and we were in production on a particular primetime game show. And we had optioned it to about 15 countries. Terrific show. And we did the options, made decent money off the options, and then the executive who commissioned it left CBS. So it was out with the old, in with the new. And the new executive decided not to put the show on the air. And the 15 companies that had optioned it said, we're not interested. I said, what do you mean you're not interested? They said, well, you know, CBS isn't putting it on the air. I said, they're not putting it on the air because it was out with the old, in with the new, and the executive wanted her new stuff. They said, so we're not interested. I said, all right, tell you what, Mr. Broadcaster, here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to give you 6 episodes free. No format fee. It's free. If you order more, you've got to pay us for it. And they said, interesting offer. Let me think about that. No. I said, what do you mean no? You love the show. You paid an option fee. You've seen the episodes. I said, all right, I'll do you one better. I'll give you 6 free episodes, and I'll give you, pick a number, 5% of our gross revenue from around the world that we make because you're helping us build the brand. They go, wow, that's even a better offer. Let me think about that. No, I'm not going to do that. So that's the most frustrating part. Everybody always wants to buy off success. I understand that. I've never been a buyer. I haven't been a programmer for a network. But I was at Virginia's session earlier today. And there were 1 or 2 shows, if I were a buyer, I would definitely buy them. And these were shows without a track record. So I think that's the most frustrating part for me, and I'm assuming some people out here might agree with me.
There's a sort of a conflict, isn't there, between wanting to take a risk but actually really not wanting to take a risk in that respect. So how do you break through and encourage people who surely want to do something different that they can if they just take
I offered to pay them and they wouldn't do it, so I'm not sure.
No.
I mean, you just have to kind of keep beating your head against the wall until somebody says yes. I'll give you an example. Tim Kerseni, who I see sitting over here, he and I worked together at Sony many years ago, and Tim is responsible for us at Sony, getting the rights to Dragon's Den. And we pitched a promo based on the Japanese show for 2 years. Everybody said, love the show, but we're not going to do it, not interested. But when you get it running, you let us know. So I get a call from BBC 2, I think it was at the time. They said, you've got a show that we're interested in, Dragon's Den. Great. Made the sale. Every country that had passed said, you've got that show, Dragon's Den, you showed us. We want it. Why didn't you want it a year ago when we showed you? Well, we didn't want to be the first. And the rest is history.
Okay. So, I mean, maybe that explains why so many classic formats are being remade, and you've got a lot of classic formats in your catalogue. Can you talk a little bit about this resurgence of the classic formats? Why is it so strong at the moment, do you think?
Well, I think because it's tried and true. If you're looking for a show that is pretty much guaranteed going to work, it's one of the classic shows. You know, we've got Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy, which have been on the air in the US. Jeopardy since the 60s, Wheel since 75. They've both pretty much never been off the air. Excuse me. You know, we've got back in the US Match Game and Pyramid. Gong Show's coming back, another show we had at Sony that they're bringing back. One of my favorites, Love Connection, Fox is doing, that's coming back shortly. So I think that the classics work, and everybody knows it, and they kind of find their way back to the air.
When we were having a chat prior to this chat, you talked a lot about Wheel of Fortune and how that works differently in different markets. And that must be fascinating to see a show which has got fundamentally one dynamic evolve to have several dynamics as it plays across territories. Can you talk a little bit about that show? And then I believe we've got a reel that demonstrates it.
Yeah, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, which is a terrific show. And when you watched it, each version was the same. And it was done for the right reasons, and the show worked, and it still works today. With Wheel, we allowed the licensees to make changes. They want to make changes, let us know. If I think it'll work, we'll let you try it. And on several occasions, some of the changes that the licensees did, we incorporated into the US show. And when you watch Wheel, in this clip you'll see, I don't know, 15 different versions, all of which look different.
Okay. What strikes you about the differences between territories? What are some of the most significant differences you have to take account of with a franchise like that?
Well, it's obvious to me. I don't know if it's obvious to everybody else, but I think the fact that when I watch these other versions, especially the Turkish version, Palin, I'm not sure if it's Wheel of Fortune with variety or if it's a variety show and they throw in Wheel of Fortune. Turkey's a good example, which, depending on the night of the week, could be anywhere from 2 hours to 3 hours long, which to me seems a little bit long. But in any event, it takes about 25 minutes until they actually start to play the game. There's belly dancing and there's singing and all kinds of stuff. And it works. I mean, I would venture to guess that Wheel has been Turkey's most successful show. It's the first international production I worked on in 1991. So it's been going strong for 26 years now.
Wow. How has digital changed the formats game, do you think? I mean, clearly everyone's trying to have a hit in digital, either with a show that's just digital or a digital extension. How's that impacted your business?
Well, I think Carpool Karaoke is a good example of that. It started off as a segment of the James Corden late night show on CBS. Those segments running 12 to 15 minutes long. They went up online, and the Adele video, I checked before I came over, has almost 155 million views and was the most watched clip on YouTube last year. So I think that's a good example because those clips were online. It's been developed into a half-hour show that our domestic TV group has sold to Apple Music. And we're in production now on 16 episodes that will be available on Apple Music. So I think that's a good example.
How do you monetize that? Because clearly, there's massive amounts of exposure through the internet, but it hasn't really been captured in commercial terms yet. Have you got strategies which make getting money from that space easier?
No, I don't have them. But I think that one answer could be the way that we did what we did with Carpool Karaoke by selling it to Apple, which is obviously digital. We have another show, Drop the Mic, which was also a segment of James Corden's show. And again, our domestic TV group sold that to Turner Network, TBS, and that goes on the air in May. So that's not digital, obviously, but the clips show up online. So it's a great way to showcase segments or your show.
So it's a sort of a barker, and quite a large barker for what might come next on traditional television. Is that the way that you think about it?
I think anytime you can get something in front of people that they can view it, it's a good thing.
Let's talk about scripted formats, because you've got loads of classic franchises in the library. What has been rolled out successfully already, and what do you hope to do with more in the scripted area in the future?
Well, a couple classic ones we have, which many people might be familiar with, I Love Lucy and The Odd Couple. Those shows are probably 60 years old, and we still license them and produce them from time to time. Latvia did Lucy about 2 years ago. It was an interesting story. They had run the show years before, and this was I think it might have been the 20-year anniversary or 10-year anniversary of the channel. And they had run Lucy before, and they did a season with the original actors. And the show was highly successful, but they didn't move on to a second season because the actors physically weren't able to do another season because they had gotten up there in age. But those are two examples of the older shows. The Good Wife, which was one of my favorite network shows, which went off the air last year, We're doing scripts in Russia now. We had a hugely successful version last season in Korea. Hope to be doing it in Japan later this year. We've got a new show, Ray Donovan, not a new show, one of our shows, Showtime, Ray Donovan. We're introducing that as a format as well.
And where's that? Have you sold that already, or is that?
Well, we're doing deals in 2 or 3 territories already.
Okay.
But it's also one of my favorite U.S. shows.
Okay. Well, what do you hope to achieve in 2017? You've got, so many franchises, so many properties, some classics, some new ones. Where do you see this year going for you, and what would you hope to achieve by the end of the year?
It's a tough question. People in my position, we have revenue numbers that we have to hit each year. And it's a struggle every year to do it. And half the time we hit the numbers and half the time we don't. This year I'm hoping that we do and we're on track to hit it. But there are bumps in the road along the way, and which cause you to make a left when you want to go right. So I think our goal this year is just to keep doing what we're doing. And I think one of the things we struggle with, and a lot of us that do what we do, is having enough content to distribute. That's always an issue for us. And we do distribute the CBS content, some CW content, because we own half the network, and some of the Showtime content. But it never seems to be enough. The highly successful reality shows on CBS, we don't own. Endemol or Fremantle own them, and they're really terrific shows and have been with us for a very long time. Survivor, I'm not even sure what we're up to, maybe 35 seasons or something like that, 2 a year. Amazing Race, Big Brother, great shows. We don't own any of them, though. So I guess maybe then my answer is I'd like CBS to put a show on that I do own that we can distribute.
Cool. So this year we're presenting Paul with the International Formats Gold Award. It's something that we do in association with MIPFormats and FRAPA and EMC every year. And the first person to receive that award posthumously was Merv Griffin. And Paul told me an interesting contact, an interesting link between Merv and himself when we were backstage. Would you like to sort of share that? Because it sort of is how you got into the business in the first place.
I worked on Wall Street for 7 years before I got into TV. I was a street singer on Wall Street, actually. And I met Merv Griffin, and after knowing him for a while, asked him for a job. He gave me a job, and I was made the contestant coordinator on Wheel of Fortune. It was the first year the show went on the air, and so it's kind of special to me that he received the first award in '07, and 10 years later, I'm getting it. So he was a terrific guy to work for, and I was with him for about 11 years.
Brilliant. Well, in order to present the award and say a few words about Paul, I'd like to welcome to the stage from FRAPA, Jan Salling, and from MIPFormats, Lorraine Gorod. Would you welcome them to the stage, please? And we'll go over and join them, Paul, I think.
Stay with us.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was fantastic.
Thanks.
Would you like to say a few words?
Yeah. Stay too.
I think I have a mic, so I don't need
You'll
to
be all right.
stand here.
Oh, okay.
I'll stand here anyways.
Yeah, freestyle.
Paul, it's a distinguished honor to be able to, on behalf of FRAPA, to give you this award. Not only because I'm co-chairing FRAPA, but also because you've been a role model for me for many, many years. I met Paul the first time in the early 90s when Paul was working for King World together with a very short man with a very big cigar called Doug Gluck, representing Wheel of Fortune. I was a very young production manager at Wheel of Fortune in Denmark at that time. And I was asked by the commissioning editor of TV2 Denmark to go to a King World seminar, a Wheel of Fortune seminar in Brussels. And that's where I met Paul Gilbert the first time. And I was, of course, totally starstruck by meeting American super bosses, me being a total young junior production manager. And you came across as not only very, very competent into what you can and you can't do with Wheel of Fortune, but what struck me the most and the best was that you were so kind, so gentle, so respectful towards me, even though I was a total nobody from a small Nordic territory. Totally starstruck. So I told myself that one day, when I become a grown-up, I will be just like Paul Gilbert. So you have been a role model for me my entire life.
Thank you. Thank you.
And now, on behalf of MIPFormats, Read Me Them, it's such a pleasure, a huge honor to give you this award for all of your contribution, your huge contribution to the formats industry. So Paul, congratulations.
Thank you, Lorraine. Thank you.
Bravo.
This is great. Thank you. When Natalie Woe called me and said, we'd like to present you with the Gold Award, I was a little confused. I go, okay. And I said, you know, well, who more deserving than me to receive the Old Award? And Natalie goes, no. Maybe it's my French accent. You're getting the Gold Award, not the Old Award. I said, oh boy. That makes it even easier for me then to explain this to my family and friends that I didn't get the Old Award, I got the Gold Award. But I would like to thank C21 and FRAPA and EMC and MIPFormats and Jan Loreen and David and Phil Gurin and Natalie for this. This is really terrific, and thank you all very much.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Picture, we take a picture.
Oh yeah, we want a picture.
Oh,
Sorry.
picture.
You haven't got a photographer? No, there's no photographer.
Where's the picture? Picture? You take a picture.
No, we'll get one later.
No, we want a picture now. It'll
Okay.
work.
Come on here, Jan.
Hi. I'll be standing over here. Lorraine in the middle.